On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with ASI's Tim Andrews about the Power 50, the Power Summit, and the future of the industry. Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I'm your host, Kirby Hasseman, and with me today is an industry icon, Tim Andrews, President, CEO, head guy in charge of ASI. Tim, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thanks very much for inviting me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to jump right in. I know that ASI recently hosted a Power Summit with sort of the movers and shakers of our industry all coming together. So can you tell us about that event this year and why ASI hosts an event like that?
Sure, absolutely. We had about 200 of the most powerful people in the industry there. This is our 11th year. We started this, 11 years ago, really to bring together people. And there's really a couple of points. One is to bring people together so they can network and really spend quality time together. You're at a trade show or other kinds of events over the course of the year, and it's very difficult to have quality conversations sometimes, one-on-one, and really spend an hour or a half an hour really, talking about very serious things that you might want to discuss. So it really is to get people time to really have quality time together. Secondly, we do educational programming, and that really is important. And we try to not make it all about the industry. So the first couple of years of the Power Summit, we really made it very industry specific and panels of industry players. We now try to break it out a little bit and say, okay, what are the trends we're seeing outside of our industry, and what are the trends we see 2 or 3 years out, and try to get people to think outside of their own world and the world that we all live in every day. So we're trying to sort of move people and nudge them out a little bit so they're thinking a little bit beyond sort of the daily routine we're all in.
No, I think that makes a ton of sense, and I think that that's where you start to see trends and that sort of thing. So that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
So during that time, the annual Power 50 list comes out. So I'm curious, why does ASI do that list, and what value do you think it brings?
Yeah, I think we try to identify people that are not maybe in the spotlight as often. So I know that you and one of your colleagues did an evaluation of that list and sort of had a chat about that. The day or so after it came out, which I enjoyed, listening to. We try to highlight some people that maybe are not on everyone else's list and everyone else's radar. So who are the people out there that people should really get to know and be thinking about and are doing interesting things that are powerful, maybe a little bit behind the scenes? And then, who are the players that people do know probably because they're reading and listening to things that are going on in the industry. And we try to highlight them. And we've been doing profiles, in our own social media and our pages of our magazines about each of the people that are in the Power 50 this year. So it's really to sort of spotlight people that are maybe not as well known, but also to sort of have a little profile of what's going on with the people that are a little bit better known.
No, I for what it's worth, Tim, I really like lists like that. I think not only is it great for fodder and conversation, but I actually usually it's like I do my homework and I'm like, oh, I'm not connected with that person. I need to be. So that's the way I treat it. Yeah. So as you look to 2018, what are some things that you are seeing or you expect for the future of the industry?
So I think there's a few trends going on. I think, first of all, there's a lot going on in the apparel space. The apparel space represents about 35% of our industry. And beginning 3 or 4 years ago, we saw some of the large apparel companies looking at how do they navigate the very fine line between being providers of blank apparel to people that are decorators in the industry. And how do they also decorate product themselves to get rid of what is, for distributors, a very difficult problem, which is 2 invoices and the shipping costs and all of the problems that can occur when you buy a blank good and ship it to a distributor or to a decorator, and then as a distributor get it to a client. So there's been a lot of navigation of those waters the last 3 or 4 years. I think you're going to see more activity in that space. There's a lot of concern that Amazon or some other big players could come in and become big blank apparel providers and sellers in our space, or in fact even that the mills could go directly to the distributor network or the decorator network, bypassing some of the traditional apparel suppliers. So I think there's a lot going on there. So I think as you look at 18 and 19, I think you're going to see a lot of the apparel companies say to themselves, what do I need to do to position myself well in the marketplace? And whether that's continuing to extend their presence in the decoration world, or whether that's looking at partnering or buying or doing something else with some of the hard goods companies, I think you'll see something there would be my guess. Again, in the 18-19 kind of time frame. I think that there's a lot going on in the technology space, and we're really trying to play a big role, as we have for decades, in that. You're going to see a lot more on the technology front. It is becoming a huge investment need for lots of big companies, and I think you're going to see that continuing. We're really embracing, every technology platform that we need to help distributors and suppliers become more and more efficient, whether that's the standards that are called promo standards, which allows distributors and suppliers to communicate through ASI or with themselves and each other, or whether it's the other standards that are out there. There's a lot of standards out there. Some of them are non-standard standards, I'll call them. So we're embracing that. And so I think you're going to see a lot of things there. And also, events like the Power Summit and hosted buyer events like our own Facilitate. So there's it's a very busy world, and how social media, finally, as I mentioned, how is social media changing things and how is it not changing things? And so, how do we really leverage social media for good in our own businesses and our personal lives as well? And how do we use that to leverage point? I had something over the weekend that happened that's just a really good reminder of this. We've been using Facebook Live at some of the ASI events. Mm-hmm. And I went to a personal event on Friday. A friend's son is going to be rowing alone across the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow.
To raise awareness of the need for thinking about the oceans and what's going on in the oceans, and really it's a very difficult situation in what's happening in the oceans. But in any case, my real point is I did a video, a live Facebook live stream of him speaking for 22 minutes on Friday night at his family's home. I've gotten almost 5,000 views of that. I shared it on my own Facebook. We pushed it out to his family and his friends and our networks. Almost 5,000 views of that since Friday night, at 8:30 at night. So I think, how do we continue to leverage Facebook and all these other kinds of social media? So lots of things going on as we look at 1819. It's a really exciting time in the industry, but also just in the world, at large.
No, I totally agree, Tim. It's one of those things where it's, man, if you blink, you miss a lot going on in the business world right
Absolutely.
now. Yeah, it's cool. So you've answered my 3 questions. I really appreciate that. I give everybody a chance to ask me a question. Do you have one for me?
Absolutely. So if you were me,
okay,
and you were CEO at ASI for the day, what would you do?
Oh man. So
that's legal and moral. Okay, so those are my only 2 criteria.
That's legal and moral. That does limit what I was gonna say too. No, I think that for what it's worth, I admire what you and Paul Bellantone are doing in the industries that sort of lead our industry. And so I think that one of the things that I would really love to do is just understand the trends that were coming up. I mean, honestly, if I had a chance, I'd love to just follow you around and kind of see who you were moving and shaking with, because I think that so many times all of us become pretty myopic, right? I see things. I'm always fascinated when I hear distributors tell suppliers how they should run their business, and it's always like it's a totally different business model, and so I think what I would do if I spent a day, I'd try and figure out and learn a little bit more about the perspective of our industry, because I think I'm like most people. I see things through my own lens, and I think that sitting in your chair would be a different view.
Come visit me anytime you want. I think it's a really good point about distributors, suppliers telling each other how to run their business, or someone trying to tell you how to do what you do, or me to tell me what I do. Our business has dramatically changed over the last, I've been here 14 years, I'll be 15 years in February. And, when I joined ASI, we were 80% print business, catalogs and magazines, which are still incredibly important to our business, but big sort of 4 volume sets of printed products like encyclopedias, right, that you might have actually around your office someplace still. And that was 80% of our business. We're now about 85% digital and live event business, and about 15% print. Print's still incredibly important to us, but think about that dramatic shift of our business. And so whenever I'm talking to distributors and suppliers, I say to them, how has your business changed in the last 10 years? And has your business changed as much as digital entertainment business, as much as the cable TV business, as much as the automotive business? Think about all of those industries that we all touch every single day, and how much they have dramatically changed in 10 years. And has the promotional products business changed that much? Has your own personal business changed that much? And if not, what do you need to do to change it? Because we need to be the change agents for ourselves and for our industry. We can't wait for someone else to change it for us, because if we do, we'll be in the way, not part of the equation.
Yeah, man, that's a great point, Tim. I really appreciate you and your perspective and you taking the time, quite honestly. So, uh,
Anytime.
yeah, thank you so much, and we'll have to do it again, okay?
Thank you very much. Have a great week.
Yeah, well, that wraps up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.